Good morning. Let's review graphing quadratics. Here is a quadratic equation. A squared plus 2a plus 8 equals 0. Always try graphing the equation first because you might actually see the solution in the graph. So I've already put the equation into my graphing calculator over here. So let's press, and I had to use X. Remember, don't use the variable that you see. You always use this X button. All right, so now you go ahead and graph it. And hold on, is it going to graph it for me? There it goes. All right, so my screen is looking like not very good right now. Hold on, let's see. Okay, so I fixed my screen. I had to zoom 6 to make my window a little bit more of a standard window. So if you ever can't see it, just press zoom and then click the 6 button and it'll zoom for you to a standard window. So here's what my graph looks like. Oh no, I can't find my solution because I don't have any x-intercepts. So I know I'm going to have an imaginary root or an imaginary solution. So now we've got to go and either use quadratic formula or completing the square. So we're going to start with the quadratic formula. Okay, so I have set up the quadratic formula here, and I've already written out that I'm going to find A, B, and C. Now, just because the variable is called A doesn't mean that that's what we're using. A is the number in front of the squared term. So in this case, it's a 1. And then our B is the number in front of the linear term, so that's our 2. And then C is the number in front of, or it's just the one that's the very last one that has no variable, so it's 8. So let's go find the determinant. B squared minus 4ac. I'm sorry, it's called the discriminant. A determinant is in a matrix. Okay, so plug this in. So you got 2 squared minus, now put parentheses around that in case it's negative and you don't get a negative, minus 4 times 1 times 8. This is easy, they're all positive. So I get 4 minus, or you could say negative 4 times 1 times 8, so negative 32. Remember, negatives and minus are the same. So 4 minus 32 is negative 28. All right, so let's go throw that into the quadratic formula. And we're going to go, I'm going to scroll down here a little bit. I got all my variables. I don't need anything else. I'm going to look at my formula. Formula is the opposite of B. So the opposite of 2 is negative 2 plus or minus square root of, now we already did B squared minus 4ac, so we're just going to throw that in there, all over 2a. So 2 times 1 is 2. Remember, this is telling us what x is or what t is because it always represents a time. All right, so let's go simplify that out. So we want to find the square root of negative 28. We know it's going to be imaginary. So a perfect square that goes into 28 is going to be negative 4. And then we get 7. So now we're going to get a 2i square root of 7. So that's going to be our new simplified thing right here. So let's plug that in. Negative 2 plus or minus 2i square root of 7. Remember, it's all over 2. All right, we got one more thing. We got to put this in lowest terms. So all these 2's can be divided by 2. So we've got negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 7. And you don't need the 1 in the denominator. All right, save yourself time and pencil marks and pen and ink and paper and don't write that. So there's your answers right there. That's your solution. Now, if you are a math analysis student or if you're an Algebra 2 student who would like to learn another method for doing this, we're going to look at solving by completing the square. So when you complete the square, you're actually going to turn it into a perfect square trinomial. So here's the first thing you're going to do. This is going to sound crazy because it's the opposite of what we've been doing. We're going to move our c to the other side. So we're left with a squared plus 2a. Leave a space for something to go here, but then move your negative 8 over here. So these two guys go away. Now we've got to ask ourselves, what would be the number that would go here that would make this a perfect square trinomial? All right, so basically what you're going to do is you're going to take half of b, all right, take half of b, so b divided by 2, and then you're going to square it. And that's going to give you your new c. So let's go and take half of 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then 1 squared. Well, that's easy. That's a 1. All right, but now what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if you add 1 here on the left, you've got to add 1 on the right. So now we've got a squared plus 2a plus 1 is equal to negative 7. Where are we going with this? Well, what we've got to do is turn this into, remember, this is this right here. This is a plus 1 times a plus 1. All right, we're not going to write that. We're going to write it as a plus 1 squared is equal to negative 7. Now, anytime you have a whole entire side is squared or a whole entire variable is squared, you will go and take the square root of that to undo it, but you have to do it to the other side. Now you're left with a plus 1, right, because the square root and the square symbol cancel each other out, is equal to the square root of negative 7. All right, so now we're going to go and subtract 1 from both sides. Well, wait, hold on. We need to go take that negative sign out of that square root. So that's really I square root of 7. All right, so now we've got a plus 1 is equal to I squared plus, remember there's a plus and minus root. All right, subtract 1 now. There we go, much better. All right, and let's scroll so you can see some of the work. So you subtracted 1 now from both sides, and you're left with a is equal to, let's see what we got. We got plus or minus I square root of 7 minus 1. Now this is not in the right order. You have to put your real number first and then your imaginary number second. So let's rearrange the order of this. Negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 7. And that's what a is equal to, or x if you want to call it x, right? All right, so look at what we did. This is the one done by completing the square, and this one is the answer when we use the quadratic formula. It's the same. All right, you're probably ready for your quiz now.